Corbin's coasters and more, I figured what better way to get to know me and my coaster tastes than to release my top 54 coasters. Wait, 54? That's because I currently rate exactly 54 of the coasters that I've ridden as being at least really good, above what I call my yellow line. I'm doing my countdown in 2 videos to separate the great from the good, so in this video I'm going to release numbers 54 through 27, which are all really good coasters that I would never skip if I visit the park. Part 2, the top 25, will come out next week on Wednesday. I've been to all of the parks shown on the screen, but I am missing Dollywood, Silver Dollar City, all of Pennsylvania, and several of the smaller regional parks. Also, I've been to Cedar Point many times, but have not made it back since the conversion from Mean Streak to Steel Vengeance, so my number 1 is different from the rest of the world. I currently have 192 total coaster credits. Also, I don't rank clones separately unless they're completely themed differently or there's something way different about them. So there's a couple of these that maybe I would have 2 in the ranking, but you're only going to see one version of that coaster. At 54, I have one that you probably have not ridden, maybe haven't even heard of. Black Mamba at Phantasialand in Germany. This is a B&M invert with more near misses than you can count and is incredibly smooth. Phantasialand is a great park. This won't be the only coaster you see from there. Coming in at number 53 is Kentucky Kingdom's Lightning Run. While not as great as some make this ride out to be, this Chance Rides Hyper GTX is a one-of-a-kind airtime machine that should be cloned and used in more small parks. For now, it's one of a kind. Number 52, Manta at SeaWorld Orlando. This is a solid B&M flying coaster, much better than the standard Superman clones, pulls almost 4 Gs on the pretzel loop, one of the more intense coasters I've been on. Number 51 is Cobra's Curse at Busch Gardens Tampa. It's a mock ride spinner with incredible theming. Even the queue is cool. You walk through an ancient Egyptian tomb with talking hieroglyphs and sound effects. Plus it looks like you're going to be eaten by the Cobra God before you go down the hill. The coaster itself has a nice controlled spin and is the perfect blend of a family coaster that thrill seekers can also enjoy. Number 50 is the newest coaster at Knott's Berry Farm, Hang Time. It's the only Gerstlauer I've been on, and while it's fun, it doesn't stand up to most of the other dive coasters. But it's still the only one in the Pacific Coast until San Diego opens theirs, so it's something. The first drop is still pretty great, going over vertical. Number 49 I just rode for the first time 2 days before the shutdown, and then again right after they reopened. Steel Eel at SeaWorld San Antonio. Morgan is another manufacturer which I have very few credits, only this one and the awful West Coaster on the Santa Monica Pier. While this may not be the best coaster in the world, and it's pretty rough, the ejector airtime on each hill is amazing. Number 48 is the first wooden coaster on the list. I know I have it lower than most, but it's the Voyage at Holiday World. For those of you who are not enthusiasts or not from the Midwest, Holiday World is a small family-owned park in the middle of nowhere, Indiana, that's worth the drive. The Voyage is one of the longest woodies I've ridden, and it's constant thrills throughout. It is rougher every time I go though, which is what puts it a little lower on the list. Number 47 is another wooden coaster in the Midwest, Mystic Timbers at Kings Island. Even though this is one of the most disappointing advertising fails with "What's in the shed?" the ride itself is great without gimmicks. The airtime and pacing are surprising and it's smooth enough for countless re-rides. On a side note, most of you will disagree with me, but Diamondback is not in my top 50 and I think it's a weak B&M hyper. Start over. 3, 2. Most of you will disagree with me, but Diamondback is not in my top 50. And I think it's a weak B&M hyper with undetectable airtime. Everyone's always telling me how much floater you get, and I've ridden it every car, and I've got no such feeling. Not saying it's a bad ride, but I'm okay with skipping it if the line is long. Go ahead and argue in the comments below if you disagree. Oh, and I haven't been on Orion yet, with plans to possibly go next month, so don't get on me for that not being on there. Back to really good coasters. At number 46, I have another one that you'll probably not like that I have it this high. Some enthusiasts say that this is their least favorite coaster of all time, but I've never understood why, except for the awkward shoulder restraints. The Big Apple Coaster, aka the roller coaster, aka Manhattan Express, aka overpriced for a single ride. I actually really enjoy this ride. Living in Vegas, I got hooked up and have ridden several times for free, making it very worth it. I actually love the atmosphere of this ride, actually starting and ending inside the casino, then going outside up the actually tall lift hill. I love the unique element of a stall into a dive loop in the middle of the ride, and it's pretty long. Sure, it's kind of rough and they raised the price to $15 for a single ride, which is ridiculous. But if you're in Vegas, it's worth it. You're on vacation. At number 45, I have the Flash Vertical Velocity at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. This is, I think, a better Intamin than the V2 clones, even though it's not as fast. This one has more of a horizontal layout because of the local height restrictions and gives some extra airtime and hang time, as well as an inversion rather than just forces. Number 44 is one of the newest coasters in America, West Coast Racers. I was actually lucky enough to ride this on the member preview day, but only got one ride. The high five element at the beginning of this ride was shocking and different from any other coaster. I really don't like the pit stop in the middle of the ride though. I guess for some reason I had Universal or Disney expectations since there was a theme, but Six Flags came through with their usual pointless mediocre theming. This ride would also be higher if they had included separate stations for loading and unloading. This ride is a pain to get on and off and will never have a high throughput. I still don't know why they chose Magic Mountain for this park. I mean, really, 2 Mobius loop coasters in one park and none in any of their others? Just doesn't make any sense. Anyway, number 43 is Mr. Freeze Reverse Blast at Six Flags St. Louis or over Texas, the only ride from St. Louis in my top 50. I usually don't appreciate backwards coasters or really shuttle coasters, but this one is just so good and intense. The only problem is that it has gotten incredibly rough with age. I actually dropped this 14 spots when I rode this one in Texas. Maybe the clone is just way worse than the same ride in St. Louis, but it's been a while, so I didn't rank them separately. Number 42 is the tallest and fastest coaster I've ever been on, King Ka Six Flags Great Adventure. I had high expectations that weren't really met, especially because I've always been a top thrill fan and King Ka just didn't do it for me as much. Still an amazing thrill to be that high that fast though. Number 41, Superman Krypton Coaster. I visited Six Flags Fiesta Texas for the first time one day before the parks closed, so I'm happy to have been allowed to go. It is one of the better B&M floorless coasters and it plays with the quarry wall, which makes it unique from similar models. It is weirdly one of the hardest to find coasters anywhere though, with no big signs or anything in the park. It's between a couple of Midway games with this little tiny sign. At this point, we're close to the top of the good coasters before the great comes around. All of the rest on this video are borderline excellent. Number 40 is another B&M floorless, Bizarro at Great Adventure in New Jersey. This is an example of a park taking care of the ride and keeping it excellent. Bizarro is one of the smoothest floorless coasters around despite opening in 1999, and the theming they've added sends it to the next level. The prop pieces also all act as near miss elements and some include mist, really pushing it past the standard Six Flags coaster. What makes this ride exceptional though is that I've ridden the mirror clone Scream at Magic Mountain and it's in my bottom 20 all time. So shout out to Great Adventure's maintenance and management. Number 39 is one of my newest credits, though I did ride it when I was 8 years old as well. I was pleasantly surprised with how smooth Rock and Roller Coaster is 20 plus years later. It's one of the older LSM launched coasters and actually has a fairly strong launch. I always enjoyed synced onboard audio and this ride does it perfectly. Something interesting about this coaster is that you can bring bags on the ride even though it goes upside down, which I've never seen anywhere else. Number 38, I think is really good but not quite great, is Wonder Woman Golden Lasso Coaster at Fiesta, Texas. This is the first model of the RMC single rail Raptor coaster and I can't wait to ride the bigger model being built to Great Adventure. But this is my lowest rated RMC coaster. If you've never ridden, it's like riding a bull. It doesn't last long at all. And it is way rougher than any other RMC I've ridden. But you hardly ever touch the seat. It throws you out for almost the entire ride. Unfortunately, it's extremely short and the capacity and ride operations are awful. So the line gets really long even if it's not busy at the park. I actually moved this down on the list with repeat rides as it literally gives thigh bruises when it slings you around. Number 37 is the first coaster on the list from Virginia, Apollo's Chariot at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. This was one of the first coasters, if not the first, with the clamshell restraints and was the first B&M hyper coaster. The floater airtime is incredible. It's been 7 years since I rode it though and I planned on going back last year. So, you know. Number 36 was one of my most awaited coasters. Before living in Orlando, I visited SeaWorld Orlando twice, and Kraken was closed for the entire day on both visits. Turns out it's one of my favorite floorless coasters anywhere, as I thought it would be. The pacing is incredible, and it's one of the few floorless coasters that doesn't rattle like crazy. And no, its sister coaster Kumba is not even close to my top 50. I was so lucky to get on number 35 less than a month after opening and only 2 days before it would close for COVID, Texas Stingray at SeaWorld San Antonio. Because shutdowns were already starting elsewhere in the country, people were already nervous, and the newest coaster in the country never had more than a 10-minute wait. Plus, with this being a garbage theme park with not much else to do, I rode it over 20 times. This is my highest rated GCI coaster. It's not record-breaking in any way outside of Texas, but has some great ejector moments and amazing pacing throughout. The best moment is the drop around a corner and into a tunnel toward the end of the ride that pulls you out of the seat. Every ride from here is above my green line on my coaster rankings, meaning that they are excellent, and I would make a trip to these parks just to ride these rides. Number 34, the first amazing ride on this list, is Tatsu at Six Flags Magic Mountain. There is no other ride even similar to Tatsu. I skipped it the first time I went to Magic Mountain because it had a long line, and I thought, well, it's just another flying coaster. If lines are long in the park, this one is worth a 2-hour wait. Or just go on a weekday when it's probably less than 30 minutes. But if you can only make it to Magic Mountain once, as with all of the coasters remaining on this video, do not skip Tatsu. Even though the ride doesn't have a huge drop, at the highest part you're flying nearly 300 feet over the ground looking straight down, and you get to see every part of the entire theme park at times. Then there's the Force of the Pretzel loop toward the end where you gray out every single time. Number 33 is Intimidator 305 at King's Dominion. I know it's controversial to have I-305 this low, and I've ridden it a bunch of times. King's Dominion was one of my home parks growing up, and I got to marathon this one on opening day. It was my first opening day coaster actually, and probably is the coaster that inspired my love for coasters and theme parks. However, other than the initial 2 hills, the rest of the ride is almost boring. But the 2 hills, I've never grayed out more intensely than on Intimidator 305, even blacked out once. Unfortunately, it's now the only really good King's Dominion coaster because number 32 is, well, was Volcano the Blast coaster, another Intamin. This is the other ride that launched me into being a roller coaster enthusiast. The 70-mile-per-hour blast up into the flames and flipping over is nearly as intense as I-305. King's Dominion used to be known for awesome, fast, intense coasters, but they all seem to eventually disappear. Just like Intimidator 305 though, Volcano is lower on the list because after the initial launch sequence, it's kind of just a trip back to the station with a couple of flips. Volcano will always hold a special place in my heart, but hopefully its replacement is even better. It kind of needs to be if King's Dominion ever wants anyone to go to the park from outside of the Richmond, D.C. area. Number 31 is another launched coaster and is the best B&M floorless on the list, the Incredible Hulk at Islands of Adventure. I'm a sucker for theming an on-ride sound, and this coaster does both very well. And while the launch isn't forceful, it's surprising, especially on the first time, as they have the launch hidden inside a tunnel so you can't see it in line. There's really not much that could have been done better to improve this one. Number 30, I'll have some haters on, but the highest Premier Rides coaster on my top 50, Full Throttle at Magic Mountain. Sure, it's short. Too short, but it has multiple launches, forwards and backwards sections, and the most amazing top hat anywhere, plus the launch into the gigantic loop. I always ride Full Throttle at least twice every time I'm at the park. Number 29 is maybe not a fan favorite, but I love Goliath, also at Magic Mountain. I think what I like about it is that it's different from other hypers, mostly because it's not a B&M. The helix at the end is awesome to me. I like the intensity of it, even if there's not enough airtime on the drops. Far better than, say, Diamondback at Kings Island. Number 28 is one of the easiest coasters to marathon ever. I don't see the problem everyone has with this one, except for the name. Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket at Universal Orlando is pretty awesome. Though there are several near inversions, you never turn upside down due to some inventive twists. The 90-degree lift hill, the near misses through tunnels, and the music selection makes it so much cooler than it needs to be. Really though, why name a ride in Orlando Hollywood? Number 27, Titan at Six Flags over Texas and Arlington. I've now ridden all 2 of the American Giovanolas, and this one is slightly better and more complex than its California counterpart. This is the most intense coaster I've ever ridden. It has to pull nearly 5 Gs. I've completely blacked out on the Helix once. So that's the first half of my top 54 coasters. Were some too high? Too low? Let me know in the comments. Any feedback is also really appreciated, even if it's negative. And click the thumbs up if you like the video, even if you disagree with some of it. Because I'm new to this, I really don't have much video content of coasters yet, and I don't plan on making POVs. So many already do that amazingly well. So thanks to every channel that I pulled from. If anyone wants me to pull something, just let me know and I'll replace that part. Not trying to get in trouble, but I support all of the channels that I pulled from and enjoy your videos as well. Check back in a couple of days and I'll have my top 27. The best of the best. I'm also planning to do my dark rides as well as videos from my upcoming trips. Be sure to subscribe below so they'll update right into your feed. Thanks for watching Corbin's Coasters and More.